Hi there and welcome to SaltWire today for Thursday, March 2nd. I'm Scott Squires, in for Kate Walker. Well, it seems like winter isn't quite done with us yet. SaltWire weather specialist Alistair Alders starts off our Thursday with a closer look at how much snow we may have to clear.
Thanks, Scott. Well, you could call it the calm before the storm today. Of course, as I mentioned yesterday, a low-pressure system will be sliding south of the province, and it will bring a heavy snowfall to much of the region as we go through tonight. But it is fast-moving. It clears out early on Friday. Now, the snow did start to move into the southwestern areas of Nova Scotia this afternoon, and as we take a look at the weather timeline, we have the snow building into the Halifax area early this evening, and as we progress through the evening hours, we will start to see that snow fill into northern and eastern areas of mainland Nova Scotia, and then near and after midnight tonight, that snow will reach the Cape Breton area. Now, once again, we will likely see the snow mixing with some rain directly along parts of the south shore of Nova Scotia. Can't initially rule out a bit of mixing in the coastal Halifax area, especially where temperatures will be a bit warmer to start, but anyone that does see any mixing will see a transition back to snow as temperatures will be falling as we go throughout the night tonight. And as I mentioned, it's fast moving. The system does clear to some lingering flurries pre-dawn to early on Friday morning. For most of us by commute time on Friday, this snow will be done with us. It will be a matter of, what will the roads and the sidewalks be like at that time. I expect many will still likely be partially or fully snow covered as crews work to clean up that snow. Any lingering bands of snow, though, will be clearing through the morning and will have otherwise mainly cloudy skies for the rest of the day. Now, the latest look at the snowfall outlook paints a picture of 20 to 30 centimeters over parts of central Nova Scotia, and that does include the Halifax area, so brace for 20 to 30 centimeters of snow. That swath does extend into the Lunenburg County area, as well as parts of the Annapolis Valley and Hants County, and as far east as Sheet Harbor. Now, for the rest of the mainland, a general 10 to 20 centimeters expected. Some pockets could exceed 20 centimeters, especially along the North Shore and areas just south of that swath. But in the southwest corner of Nova Scotia, 5 to 10 centimeters, and then 5 or less directly along the coast where we see a bit of that mixing. Cape Breton Island expecting about 5 to 15 centimeters of snow, with the highest amounts in Richmond County and possibly parts of CBRM. Winds will be a story with this too, but especially as the system pulls out. So this evening, winds will be from the east over to the northeast, gusting 30 to 60 kilometers per hour. But as we go through the overnight hours into early Friday morning, winds will become north and northwest, and we'll see some gusts of 60 to 80 along the Atlantic coast of Nova Scotia. And then throughout the day on Friday, once the system clears, we will have winds from the north and northwest 30 to 60 kilometers per hour with some gusts up to 70. So we will still have some blowing snow around on Friday once the system has departed. Certainly throughout the night tonight into early Friday, travel will be impacted across the province, so do be careful if you have to be out on the roads, and I'll take a look at your full Halifax forecast coming up in just a bit. Scott.
Halifax's transit system could be in for more trouble soon, as the union representing drivers has announced that up to 100 drivers are willing to quit without a better contract with the city. According to Shane O'Leary, president of the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 508, drivers are paid $21.45 an hour for training and $22.88 an hour in the first year of work, which doesn't meet their needs to live in the city. Negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement between the union and city are ongoing. The city has been recruiting and training new operators with plans to hire about 80 more, but they say they won't discuss the contract negotiations until they're finalized. Andrew Rankin and Jen Taplin have additional Halifax transit coverage at SaltWire.com. Now to a story from SaltWire's Chris Lambie. Late last summer, a Nova Scotia hospital patient allegedly attacked 2 security guards at the facility's psychiatric ward. The patient, 35-year-old Scott David Goldsmith, reportedly punched one guard and knocked him unconscious before attempting to choke the other guard with a rear-naked chokehold. Mental health law experts say violence can be triggered by some policies and practices that are supposed to keep staff and patients safe. The Nova Scotia Health Authority is now in the process of developing a new seclusion policy and adopting a new restraint at last resort policy later this month. Goldsmith is now slated to be arraigned on March 7th in Dartmouth Provincial Court. You'll find the full story from Chris at SaltWire.com. The family of a young woman who died from exposure amid a mental health crisis says her death could have been prevented. Yulia Andrechuk died November 15th last year after bystanders found her cold and alone on a Dartmouth street. Her parents say an emergency room doctor at Dartmouth General assessed her as not being in danger 12 days before, despite their concerns about their daughter's condition.
He spoke to Mike. Mike expressed his concern. He said that she is very bad, in very bad condition, and Mike suggested to give her a treatment. But doctor called back and said he decided to dismiss our daughter.
Mental Health Minister Brian Comer called Yulia's death a tragedy and says that her case will be reviewed. Her parents, who now live in Quebec, remembered their daughter as a wonderful person, a talented writer, and an artist who would still be alive if she'd received the proper support.
She just needed treatment in certain period of time just to take care.
In that stress period, she needed treatment and help. She didn't get it.
John McPhee will have more on this story at SaltWire.com. Time now for today's Thinking Out Loud with Sheldon McLeod. Today, Sheldon speaks with Michael DeAdder on Dilbert, cancel culture, and political cartooning.
And the idea of cancel culture, there's been some pushback. I see folks talking about it, and comedian Ricky Gervais, who says, why should anyone expect to be able to go through life without someone saying something that they find offensive, which does fly in the face of, what a lot of people feel is that I can be offended by what you say, and I can be offended on the behalf of the other people that might not even look like me.
Well, Ricky Gervais and I have a similar job. Every day I don't set out to offend people, but I do set out to push the envelope. And in pushing the envelope, you're going to end up offending someone. Probably every cartoon I've ever drawn, being a political cartoonist, has offended somebody at some point. And probably even my supporters, because of my job, I've probably have offended them at least once or twice, or maybe a half dozen times in my career. I draw what I like, so I'm the only person I haven't offended.
To watch Sheldon's full interview, click on the opinion section at saltwire.com, and while you're there, click on the podcast link for Sheldon's podcasts. SaltWire is a proud sponsor of the 2023 Prince Edward Island Canada Games, and on today's Atlantic Sports Wire, Jason Simmons tells us about a PEI boxing coach who's been coaching for decades.
He's been coaching boxing on Prince Edward Island for 41 years and has seen just about everything the sport can offer. But ask Howard Watts his biggest reward, and there is an immediate answer.
These kids, that's my reward right there. Performance. I was able to help them get there. This the big thing. Give them the help. They got to do the work. I'm just helping. I'm just sitting up there, boys. I don't get hit. So if you're not in condition, you're not going to fulfill. Make it a dream. Make it a dream. You don't want to make it do like this, So frame of mind. Whatever you do well.
This week, Watts is coaching PEI's boxing team at the Canada Winter Games for the 9th time, including in 1991 when the games were hosted on PEI. Watts has a long history with boxing.
I was always involved I had a brother that boxed in the Army up until 65. My father boxed in the Navy. I lived in Halifax and involved in it when I was up until I moved to the island. I moved to the island in 80, moved back home in 80, and then 81 we started trying to put the club together, get our levels and stuff. It took us 82 to get things organized and going the proper way.
Watts' approach to coaching is about a lot more than boxing, with a strong emphasis on life skills.
Well, like I say, I get how the kids perform and and down the road how they turn out, eh? And I like to feel that boxing has helped them to be humble and everything in the ring and outside the ring and with other athletes, so they get to go see around what's going on. That's basically what a lot of it that you get out of it. It's a pleasure seeing what doesn't matter winning or losing, it's performance.
This marks the second time Howard Watts has coached in a Canada Winter Games in Prince Edward Island. An interesting tidbit is Watts noted the ring used for the 2023 games is the exact same one that was used in 1991. In Summerside, Prince Edward Island, I'm Jason Simmons for the SaltWire Network.
Let's go back outside and check in once again with SaltWire weather specialist Alistair Alders. Alistair?
Hi again, Scott. Well, the Halifax area bracing for some snow tonight. Thankfully, this is a fast-moving system. It clears by commute time on Friday. But tonight, though, we will have that snow. And it will begin as a wet snow with temperatures this evening near the freezing mark. We do fall back below freezing overnight tonight. And we will have east and northeast winds of 30 to 60 kilometers per hour, and they could gust 60 to 80, especially the closer you are to the Atlantic coastline overnight tonight. We start near -4 waking up on Friday morning with just some lingering flurries. As I mentioned, I expect the snow will have tapered off by commute time on Friday, and you will be shoveling about 20 to 30 centimeters of snow here in the Halifax area, and unfortunately it's going to be a heavier snow compared to when we were talking last week when it was very fluffy. Now, conditions for the cleanup not looking too bad. Mainly cloudy in the morning and throughout the afternoon. Could see a bit of brighter skies later in the day, and the temperature rises up to the freezing mark in the afternoon, but winds will still be strong from the north and northwest, gusting 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. So certainly travel will be impacted in the Halifax area and most of the province tonight into early Friday, so please do use extra caution if you do have to be out on the roads tonight into early Friday. Still a tough call what they will do with schools. Will it be a full day closure or a delayed opening? I think at least a delayed opening, but I'm not in the business of making snow day predictions. Now, I do want to advise you that there is another system. The third in this parade of systems will slide south of Nova Scotia on Saturday. Could bring some flurries or light snow into the Halifax area, but right now, unless it nudges further to the north and east, not expecting a significant accumulation in Halifax. I'll be watching it closely. Parts of southwestern Nova Scotia, though, be advised that you could be in for another heavy snowfall on Saturday. Scott.
Thanks a lot, Alistair. Well, that's all for now. For more extended video and full online articles, stay tuned to saltwire.com, and you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm Scott Squires. Thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.